I'm Dennis Childs, a professor of literature at UCSD, and my role is to support the students, my students, who are leading the movement on campus in terms of what's going on. I mean, to answer the question of what happened, specifically the recent incidents are some racist incidents that have taken place on campus. There was a party involving a fraternity on campus that was a quote-unquote ghetto theme party for there was a mockery of Black History Month, and it invited people to dress like Black people, or their kind of warped perception of what Blackness is, including gold teeth, nappy hair. A lot of it was real misogynist against Black women in particular, talking about how Black women talk loud and smack their gums and are monstrous. And it also talked about the food that they were going to serve at this party, which was chicken and watermelon and things like that. So then after that, there was another incident with the local, or the campus television station, UCTV. Members of the Koala, a campus periodical, got on there and used real vile racist language in reference to the students who are mobilizing on campus, and saying that quote unquote these niggers need to be grateful, end quote, for being on this campus instead of mobilizing. Then there was another incident recently of a noose being hung in the 7th floor of the library as students are trying to study for their finals. They have to see something that is about the legacy of race terror and white supremacy in this country. And then there was a KKK hood found on the statue of Dr. Seuss outside the library on Dr. Seuss's birthday. But what I want to make clear is that these incidents aren't really the beginning of racial trouble on this campus. And what the students in BSU and MECHA and other organizations are making clear is that this movement on the campus is not about attacking specific people of whatever racial creed, but it's about attacking a structure of racism, classism, misogyny that leads to the situation where UCSD is ranked last out of all UCs in terms of African American population in the student body. We're talking about a 1.3% African American population, which equates to about 290 students out of about 25,000 student population. Anyone who is of good conscience should realize that that kind of situation is intolerable. And the students have been saying this for years. They came out with a report called the Do You See Us report, which you should make available to people who are listening to your show, that cataloged what the day-to-day existence is for Black students on this campus. And this was done way before these recent incidents. And what that report said is that the campus climate is hostile towards African Americans, that 1.3% population. And that if something isn't done about that environment, that incidents like this will occur. You have another report that came out in 2007 called the Yield Report. Yield represents the number of students who are accepted in the university who actually come to the university, sign a letter of intent. UCSD has the lowest African American yield in the UC system, the absolute lowest. You're talking about a 13% yield in terms of the African American students who are accepted, whereas UCLA and Berkeley have 40 and 50% yields. So why is it that people don't want to come to UCSD? And that's what the students are focusing on, that we can't isolate out these incidents as the only marker of racism and exclusionary practice. The institution itself is an institution that needs to be challenged in terms of its exclusionary and elitist practice. This is a public university, and the students are demanding that it actually become a public university in something more than name. So there's a notion that California is this kind of multicultural haven, and it's all about the ocean and so many different people. It's a society that is really like one of the most ethnically diverse places in the country. But if you look at the history of the political history of California, and if you look at the way in which right-wing politics have held sway here for the last decades, you're talking about Proposition 187 against immigrant population. You're talking about Proposition 21 criminalizing youth as adults. You're talking about Proposition 8 banning gay marriage. You're talking about, we could go on and on and on. And in in terms of the UC, the University of California, you have a situation where the University of California has become basically a de facto private institution, where I'm from City Heights, San Diego, which is the most ethnically diverse neighborhood probably in California. Over 30 languages spoken there, but none of the people from my high school feel like the University of California is in their future. Now, you know, you look at those numbers that I told you about, the 1.3% African American population at the University of California, San Diego. Why is it that African Americans are over 30% of the prison population? You look at the numbers of black men in particular. In California, this wonderful state of ours, we have a 5-to-1 ratio of black males in prisons versus colleges. Five black men in cages to every one that's in a university. Now, that is structural racism, and you don't have to have a hood hanging on a statue to tell you that that's wrong, and that we need to do something to make people's life chances from communities like City Heights, South Central, Compton, Logan Heights, all these different areas, you know, East LA, make it so the students from those communities know that the university is their future rather than being locked up or working a service sector job.